Who was the traitor in the Rocks Pirates? In the latest chapter of the manga, Whitebeard was puzzled, asking why the Marines arrived at their location so quickly. This suspicion actually led to speculation that there might have been a possible traitor within the ranks of the Rocks Pirates. And in this video, we're going to explore who that traitor might have been. To start off this topic, let's move to our first possible suspect. For those who don't know, the very first member of the Rocks Pirates whose name was ever mentioned in the One Piece story was Captain John. Yes guys, way back in chapter 233, his name was first brought up by Buggy. At that time, Buggy was searching for Captain John's so-called treasure, and coincidentally, in that very same chapter, the Gloriosa also made their first appearance. On top of that, it was also in chapter 233, where we first saw an island that looked exactly like Hachinosu. So it seems like chapter 233 was intentionally connecting hints of future events. In other words, it served as foreshadowing for a chain of events tied to the Rocks Pirates. So what exactly is the idea behind Captain John being a traitor? It's possible that he was approached by the world government and sold out his captain, Zebec, in exchange for a great amount of treasure. Our evidence here comes from information in SBS Volume 49. As stated, the two swords buried in Captain John's body weren't actually his weapons. They were the weapons of his crewmates, stabbed into him. Yes guys, Captain John was killed by his very own pirate crew. The reason behind this was that he refused to reveal the location of his hidden treasure. So based on that information, we learn that it was his own crew who killed him. Could it be that, at some point during the God Valley incident, Zebec discovered that the traitor among them was none other than Captain John? Could this be the reason why Zebec killed him? Because if you look closely guys, one of the swords stabbed into Captain John's body looks very similar to the one Zebec himself wielded. Another possible idea for Captain John being the traitor has to do with his so-called treasure. If you remember, during the Thriller Bark arc, Luffy acquired Captain John's armband. Later, during the Impel Down arc, Buggy managed to get his hands on it. It was eventually revealed that this armband was actually a map leading to Captain John's treasure. So what exactly was this treasure? Was it simply gold, money, and jewels? If it were just an ordinary treasure like that, we have to wonder why Oda invested so much into this plotline. Maybe there's a deeper reason behind it. What if the treasure Captain John was hiding was actually the One Piece itself? Because if Captain John really was a traitor who struck a deal with the Five Elders to sell out Rocks Zebec, do you think he would have agreed if the reward was nothing more than golden trinkets? No. That's why it's possible that the map contained in his armband was actually a map to the One Piece treasure itself. He may have traded it with the world government in exchange for betraying the Rocks Pirates. If that's the case, it would directly connect to Buggy, since right now he is already an emperor. And the fact remains that among all the current emperors, Buggy is the only one who hasn't acquired a single road poneglyph yet. It would actually make sense if he secretly possessed a map to Laugh-Tale, because then the playing field would be even if he decided to go there. Buggy has already expressed his intention of becoming the Pirate King after all. And let's not forget, currently Buggy still holds that very armband and Oda hasn't brought it up again in the story. Wouldn't it be hilarious if Buggy actually managed to reach Laugh-Tale before Luffy and Blackbeard? Anyway, our next suspect is Wang Zhi, also known as Ochoku. For those who don't know, he is based on a real-life pirate named Wang Zhi. That's exactly the same name he had in real life. Originally, Wang Zhi was of Chinese descent, but later on, it said that he was executed as a Japanese pirate. Yes guys, just like his character in One Piece, he also had two names in history, Wang Zhi as his Chinese identity, and Ochoku as his Japanese one. He was often labeled a race traitor, someone who betrayed his own homeland, China. So it actually fits the narrative that if there really was a traitor within the Rocks Pirates, it could have been Wang Zhi, since in real life he was indeed considered a traitor. Now, what would Wang Zhi gain if he betrayed the Rocks Pirates? The answer lies in Hachinosu itself. As revealed in chapter 1059, after the defeat of the Rocks Pirates in the God Valley incident, Wang Zhi became the one who ruled and claimed Hachinosu at least, until he was later overthrown by Blackbeard during the Rocky Port incident. In a way, it's actually poetic if Wang Zhi really were the traitor, since he might have sold out his captain, Rocks Zebec, in exchange for taking Hachinosu for himself. But later, he was ultimately defeated by Blackbeard, who could be seen as Zebec's successor, and driven off the very island he once claimed. It feels like a full-circle moment between Wang Zhi, Zebec and Blackbeard. This is, of course, only if Wang Zhi truly was the traitor of the Rocks Pirates. And lastly, our final suspect is none other than a female member of the Rocks Pirates, who has always been shrouded in suspicion, Gloriosa. For me, she's the most obvious choice when thinking of a potential traitor within the Rocks Pirates. Why? because it's common knowledge from the latest chapters that she was in love with Roger. And when it comes to the empresses of Amazon Lily, once they fall in love, they're willing to do absolutely anything for the one they love. We've seen this with Hancock. She fought against the Marines for Luffy's sake, and even went as far as sneaking Luffy into Impel Down. So if Gloriosa truly loved Roger, it makes perfect sense that she might betray Zebec in order to weaken Roger's greatest rival. In a sense, it could have been her way of impressing Roger by sabotaging the strongest enemy he had at the time. That's why Gloriosa is also a very solid candidate for being the traitor within the Rocks Pirates. Anyway, those are my 3 main suspects for who the possible traitor in the Rocks Pirates could have been. But how about you guys? Who do you think the traitor really was? If you have your own suspects, drop them in the comments below so we can discuss it together. That's it for now. Peace.